questions at the end. Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. See you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. It's good to see new faces. At least one or two. I was here on Wednesday. And I'll probably need to introduce myself because the new faces. I think when I came for the Women's Day, I introduced myself, but one or two things happened after Women's Day. So last time I introduced myself as an award-winning author, award-winning social entrepreneur, and a month ago I was nominated as a social entrepreneur of the year, but I ended up winning the award. I came in third place for social media influencer challenge. So that's the new thing about me. I just added my profile for awards. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my books. As I said, I've written 4 books. To those who are new, those who were here last time, you already know. I'm an author of 4 books. My first book is The Dream That I was worth fighting for, which is my life story. If you have got a dream that you want to pursue and you're finding obstacles, this is a book that will help you overcome the challenges. It's my autobiography that I'm basically writing how to overcome challenges. This is an award-winning book. The dream, this book is how to. If you have got a dream and you want to know how to achieve your dream, or perceiving your dream, it is 12 P's to realizing your audacious dream that impacts generations. So if you've got a dream in your heart and you want to know how steps on how to achieve that dream, this book will help you. This book was approved by Housing Basic Education to be in school libraries. Then we have got a planner. We have the Dreamer's Daily Planner for 2025. I believe if you are a serious dreamer, you have to write down your dreams and pursue it. So in this planner, we have got a page where you write a dream on a page where you write your dream. Then we have got a page where you write after every month. We have got a dream tracker where you're tracking your dreams for that particular month. So we've got a section for dreams celebrated, dreams deferred, action plan, key learning points, and goals for the next month. So I'm just summarizing. So this is a personal development tool. If you're serious about your personal development, I encourage that you get this, and next year we'll achieve our great dreams together. Then the King's Dream for his daughter. We're talking about gender-based violence. This book is not only about gender-based violence, but if you're a woman who is in a challenging relationship, or if you know someone who is in a challenging relationship, who is in an emotional, abusive relationship, physical, financial, you can get a gift for that. Or you can get for yourself if you're a woman who feels stuck, you've got a dream, you want to achieve your dream, but you want to know how, as a woman in a relationship. This book will encourage you that despite your situation, you can still achieve your dream. With this book, it comes a prayer journal. They are in print, which is called In Pursuit of the King's Dream Prayer Journal. I didn't bring it, but if you want it, you can also communicate, then I will bring it. This is my father's story, the legacy of my father. In this book, we encourage you that everyone, you may not be a celebrity. Sometimes we think to impact the world, you have to be influencers, you have got to get an award as an influencer. No, not necessarily. If you can impact your community, your world, you will leave a legacy. Some people will believe that when I'm gone, I'm gone. But there are some people who died in 1964, whose story is still being spoken of. That's what we're talking, that's impact. Even when you are gone and people are still quoting your words or whatever you did. So this book encourages you that in your particular world, in whatever you are doing, whether it's a church, whether it's a business, whether it's a community, you can have a legacy that will impact generations. A legacy doesn't have to be for the whole world. It can be for your family. You have heard people talking about their grandmothers, and they say, my grandmother used to pray. That's a legacy. That's someone who left a legacy because they understood their mandates. So we all have a mandate that to fulfill, but our mandate should not go with us the day we are married. Our mandate should go on. And for people to adopt your mandate, you have to have a legacy to live. So this is about my books. If you want the books, we'll talk after.
When we went out, I was talking to
Joshua, and he asked me an interesting question. He asked that, why is this event about women? Why is it when you talk about gender-based violence, it's women who gather? And if you find these 16 days of activism, it's mostly women this, women that, there are no men. If they're there, there are very few men who gather to hear and listen about gender-based violence. And when you asked me the question, I also remembered 2 weeks ago, a month ago, I was talking to someone, and we were talking about gender-based violence. And he's a man, and he was saying, him as a man, he can't see himself going to the courts because they've been abused. Because the man is supposed to be the strong one, and it affects your ego if you have to go and report. And he was arguing that, where do you find a man who would go to the police? So to him it's about ego, to him it's about status. Because I'm a man, I'm supposed to be strong, I can't go and report, I can't go and get out. So today we're just going to talk about, I've heard other people also saying here that they don't know what the definition of gender-based violence. So I'll probably just touch on that, because when I was talking to that guy, I realized that many people, when they talk about gender-based violence, they're talking about husband and wife fighting. But there's much more to gender-based violence besides a husband and wife shouting or fighting with each other. Gender-based violence is, there are different types of gender-based violence. There's physical. In layman's, physical is when a man or a woman fights with their partner. I think Mama said she doesn't know what gender-based violence is. Have you ever had, maybe in your neighborhood, a couple fighting? You have never. Or shouting at each other. You have seen a couple shouting at each other. Yes, that's another way of gender-based violence. So gender-based violence can also be emotional. When you share words that are degrading, even as a parent, when you tell your child that you are useless, you are stupid, it's also a gender-based violence because you are causing emotional damage to the child. So there's also psychological abuse, where you damage someone's self-esteem. And also financial. Financial abuse is when if your husband goes to work and they get some money, but they don't bring the money home and cause you to suffer or to go hungry because he is the main provider. That's a form of financial abuse. Or if you as the wife, you're the one who is providing, you're the one who is working, but you don't bring your money home. That's also if your husband has to suffer or the children have to suffer. That's also a form of financial abuse. So we now have an idea of what abuse, gender-based violence is all about. Yes. And I just read an article which also just showed me another form of abuse. I wasn't sure of that. Has anyone ever heard about breast ironing? They say it's very common in the West and Central Africa. Okay, breast ironing, they say it's when, so there are people who know what breast ironing And also they also say it reduces rape. That's their reasoning. And because they say if a woman has small breasts, they are not attractive to men. I'm not sure how true that is, but that's the reasoning of breast flattening. And they also believe that some cultures believe that the breast flattening also makes a woman look beautiful. So that's quite controversial, because some think if it's flattened, then they protect you from rape. Some think it also makes a girl child look beautiful. So that's a form of gender-based violence. As much as people have their reasons, as much as they think they are protecting a child from abuse, they are using abuse to protect abuse, which doesn't work, because breast ironing is actually a physical and emotional form of abuse. It's actually traumatic. When I read about it, I thought of myself ironing clothes, then I get burned. The way I respond, just by getting burned, what more of it being put on a breast for whatever reasons? So that's also a form of abuse for children. It also causes infections, abscesses, and it affects even some other complications. So that's a serious form of abuse, which is caused because of cultural beliefs in the society. So it also leads to shame and low self-esteem. When we spoke about emotional abuse, was when you are supposed to look in a way that God created you to be, then people make you look in a certain way because they are thinking that they have their own reasons why they do that. I know in the Shona culture, and I think they also say it in Ghana, they have this culture where if your uncle, just an example, I'm not saying uncles are murderers, if your uncle murders someone in a certain family, they use a child, a girl child, to appease the other family. I'm not sure whether it's there also in your cultures. In Ghana, they say they declared it illegal, but people still do it. And sometimes the child is not even informed that she has been used for appeasement. And they say it in Ghana where those who did it, a girl child will be taken to the priest so that the priest will purify them by, I think, maybe whatever way they did. But either way, it's taking a child's destiny from them and sacrificing them to pay for a wrong which they didn't do. So that's about girl child. Earlier I spoke about men who think gender-based violence is about women. But apparently, yesterday I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about Zama, was illegal mining. And they were saying with illegal mining, there are some teenagers, 14-year-old boys, who go under the mine because of poverty or whatever the reasons. And whatever the reasons, the parents allow them. And they say people can even stay there like for 2 years underground in search of the gold. But what was alarming was the person who was being interviewed says those teenagers, sometimes they are used for sex with the other men while they're under there. And they are also used, because they can run around, they use them as kind of the slaves, because even the adults, they feel like slaves. So I guess they have no excuse in protecting the child. So poverty can also lead people to victims of gender-based violence. I was reading Daily Maverick, and it was saying about 2 in 5 boys in South Africa are sexually abused before the age of 18. And of those boys, 20% are abused by teachers at school. And those reporting traumatic childhood experiences such as sexual and physical abuse, are 2 to 5 times more likely to cause to go through suicide. And I just remembered of an article. We spoke about those who go to Zamazama because of poverty. An elite school in Joburg, I think it was last year, one of the former students committed suicide because he had been exposed to abuse at the school. So sometimes it's not even about poverty. Sometimes you take your school to an elite school where you think they are all safeguards on the children, they are protected. But there's some people who find loopholes despite that. So this boy died on his 21st birthday, and the parents had done everything to protect this child. When this child died, they say he had been assessed by 6 psychiatrists, treated by 8 psychologists. So you can see this is a family that had resources to fight for the child. Spent over 12 months in treatment as an inpatient and had been hospitalized 12 times for mental health related conditions, including complex post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide. So gender-based violence causes other after effects. Like this child, they tried everything as parents within their power to save this child, but unfortunately he couldn't handle it. And they later realized that there were other 10 other students. What traumatized this child was he thought he was alone, because when he was abused, the coach told him not to share with anybody. So he kept it, and the parents could not pick until at a very later stage when it was maybe too late. So teachers are supposed to be custodians. Sometimes when we take our children to school, we sit back, they are safe. We are paying for them to be taken care of. But when they go to school, that's where someone can see an opportunity even to abuse the children. So they say, although 10 survivors of the abuse at the school, I will not mention the school, but it's there on social media, the stories out there, came forward, but the case against this alleged abuser, which moved to Rustenburg, was it had not moved because it was still under investigation. And these stories can take years being dealt with by the law. But the pain, because they say the parents of this child, they were in executive positions. The mom had to stop because she couldn't deal with the trauma, and the father also had to degrade. So gender-based violence, it could be to our child. It will affect us one way or another because they're part of us. And you can imagine if you're taking your child to an elite school, you're paying hundreds of thousands, but then your child, you lose the child to suicide because a coach, in this case they said it was also the pastoral care, the teacher was the pastoral care. When they went to a camp, took advantage of the students. So a pastoral care teacher is someone whom you trust. You look up to. Even when we go for counseling, most likely they refer you to the pastoral care, because they are the ones who are supposed to be stewards of our children. But sometimes they see a loophole and take advantage of our children. So when we take, even as parents, when we take our children to school, we don't just sit back because they are safe there. We need to be to know what our children are going through. So I have a list of things here, which if you have a child and you're a parent and you notice on your child, it's an alarm, or you must do something about it. If your child was normal starts having poor attention to details. Sometimes it's an alarm that your child is going through, he has gone through or is going through some bullying, harassment, or some form of abuse at school. If there are careless mistakes in academic, when someone has a high grade and all of a sudden they're starting to make very careless mistakes that affect their results, it's also an alarm. Short attention to span, to tasks or play activities. When you give a child a task to do at home and they don't do it, they just rush through because they just want to finish and leave. Or when they go to play with others outside, within a few minutes they're back home and they want to be by themselves. It could be an alarm that you need to notice. So as parents, we need to be involved in our children. There are some of those things that are small, but that can be signs where if you leave it, you only realize maybe like the young men I spoke about from the elite school, they only realized when he was matric, but these things happened at pre-primary. So there are some signs like also if they seem not to listen when spoken to. Sometimes when they're talking to a child, you can tell that they're not listening. And sometimes you don't know where the rebellion is coming from. That should also make you to be concerned as a parent, to take some action. Difficulties following through and finishing tasks, I mentioned that. Poor organization skills, procrastinate, takes a long time to start work. Sometimes we generalize these things. That, okay, teenagers don't do things speedily. But sometimes also need to look into it that is your child just being a teenager, or there is an issue, there is a root issue that's causing them not to procrastinate. They're given homework, they don't do it on time. You ask them even to just move a cup from there to there, it never happens. So you need to watch out of those things. Avoid tasks requiring attention, like homework, reading. Sometimes we justify actions. Oh, teenagers don't want to read. Children don't want to read. But if they've always been like that, if your child loved reading, then all of a sudden they stop, they no longer want to read. They no longer want to do their homework. They have lost now of their education or their concentration in class. That must also be an alert. They lose and forget things, school assignments, pencils, books. I'm a mother of boys. I know sometimes, a few times I've had to drive back because they have forgotten the book. But it must not be an everyday thing. Or maybe in a week, if you have to drive back 3 or 4 times, then it must be an alarm. You have to dig to it. Is this forgetting a bag to school a genuine issue, or my son has some psychological issues that they're dealing with that maybe need intervention? Forgetful in daily activities, fidget hands or squirms in seats. Some of those signs when a child cannot be stable, it could be a sign that they're dealing with something that you as a parent need to intervene. Get up from a chair inappropriately, like they can't stay. You know, these days there's a lot, you can be told the child has ADHD, a child has this, but sometimes it's beyond that. Sometimes a child is going through, they've been abused, or is being bullied at school. You know, sometimes because they have not communicated, you can easily pay lots of money because they're being told your child has concentration issues, your child has ADHD, and maybe you're even looking in your genealogy and see whether the dad or the grandfather had ADHD or whatever. But sometimes it's a matter of just sitting down with the child. We're having a relationship with the teachers. We're talking about teachers. As parents have to have a relationship with teachers. And you can go and ask the teacher if your child is behaving in a way that you think is not normal. Because they're the ones who spend time with them. And if you're not happy, you can take it up. So if they have difficulties playing quietly, and if they're up and on the go, talks excessively. It's good when the child communicates and talks, but there's some talking that gives an alarm. You know, when the child is just talking, sometimes they are seeking attention. Sometimes they are alerting you that something is wrong. But you need to be sensitive and to be alert to those things as a parent. When they answer before questions are completed, sometimes they're avoiding you to go into detail with a certain topic. So they just give you an answer so that you move on. And the difficulties waiting for a turn. They're supposed to they have a turn, maybe they're in a queue, but they can't wait. That can also be something that you need to watch out. If they interrupt or intrude into conversation or activity. There are some people who generally interrupt, but if it's abnormal, or if you tell them that they are interrupting and they don't change, because normally if it's just a character issue, you find that someone may make an effort to change, or they can stop to give the other person an opportunity to talk. So if it's something that makes everyone uncomfortable, you might want to investigate why they're doing that. Disrespectful behavior towards the teacher, doesn't get along with other children, lacks leadership, they're always led by others. They can't make their own decision. They always have to wait for others to make decisions for them. Bullies other children. Sometimes we justify when your child is bullying others, then you have a reason that they're bullying because they're being bullied. It's not a justification. If your child is a bully, you have to go to the root of it to find out why are they being bullies. And sometimes the bullying comes even from what they're seeing at home. So they're just implementing whatever they're seeing at home. So as a parent, you also need to assess yourself. So our children, they watch us, they see us, and sometimes they don't ask us to explain our behaviors. They just copy it and go and implement that. If they fail to complete homework and school assignments, disturb others' children, interrupts. If the teacher comes to you and says your child interrupts others in class, that must be a concern. You don't protect, you don't justify the action of your child. You need to find out why are they disrupting others? Why are they not concentrating? And sometimes they're also acting childish, way beyond their age. It's a teenager, but they're behaving like an 8-year-old child. It's a concern that you also need to look at. And it's the class clown. Yes, sometimes when a child is a class clown, they're seeking attention from everyone, and sometimes from the wrong people. They want affirmation, they want approval from the other students. And it could be a sign that maybe they've gone through some abuse of some sort. And if they have significant learning problems. You know, sometimes they go to your child, they were doing well, but all of a sudden, they're not coping anymore. So this can be at school. I've tried to touch at home, at school, and with other friends. Sometimes even when the children come for a play date, you can be doing whatever you're doing and you're watching your child. You can actually pick if your child is a bully, even when others come for play date. So those are some of the small things which sometimes as parents we ignore, but only know later that maybe when a child is on drugs or depending on alcohol or substances, because those things, they nest those things. So how can we protect our children from gender-based violence? You've realized something that you now know. As a parent, create a peaceful home. Charity begins at home. That moment when you see yourself as a woman and you are plotting to shout at your husband in the middle of the house, remember, you are not only affecting your husband, that thing can affect your children, even generations to come. They can go to school and be other bullies. So let's try by every means to create peaceful homes. Conflicts come, but let's learn conflict resolution. You're not doing a favor just for yourself. You're doing it a favor to your children, to your children's children. when they grow up in a peaceful home, they learn to be peaceful, whether it's to you in the house or with others. Teach them to set boundaries. Children have to be taught that no uncle, no teacher, no aunt, even their father, if they touch them inappropriate, they have to say it, they have to communicate. There's no one whom you can touch you inappropriately and they tell you that don't share with anybody. No one is that right. As a girl child or as a boy child, you have the right to complain if someone touches you inappropriately. So as a parent, if a child comes to report, then don't say we want to break my marriage. Go to the depth of it, because you may protect the marriage and also damage the child. If the father is responsible, he has to take responsibility. If he has done that to the child. If the law has to be involved or whatever needs to be done to protect the child, then it has to be done. Whether it's also a helper. Sometimes these things even happen with the helpers. So when you get a helper, you set boundaries. A helper needs to know why they are in your house. There are some things that they cannot do. Some children have been abused because of helpers or even guardian help, because we're trusting them. So we need to teach our children to set boundaries. You need to teach your children that it's okay to say no. You can say no to anybody. If it's for your safety, it's okay to say no. And no is a complete answer. It's a complete sentence. If you say no, you don't have to explain yourself. A no is a no, and flee with your life. If someone is in a room and being seductive, leave the room and don't keep it to yourself. So those are some of the things that you need to tell your children. And they must be comfortable to say anything. There's no topic that's a taboo. When we were growing up, you would be taken to an aunt to teach you about sex or whatever. Sometimes you even know it at school, scripture union or whatever, because our parents could not sit down. But the environment has changed. You sit down with your son. I talk to my son who's in university. We talk about, when he asks me about sex, we talk about it. And you tell him, my son, just leave the university people doing sex. Just leave them. Abstain from sex. And these are the repercussions. The moment you start, this is what happens. So you don't say, I say taboo, I'm the mother, how can I talk to a 21-year-old? Because they're saying it, they're the roommates, they have roommates there. So there's pressure. So you explain to your child, I explain to my child, you don't have to have a girlfriend for the sake of having a girlfriend. No, if you enjoy your singlehood to the most. Yeah, because if you are single, if you want to go to Pretoria, you just pick your bag. But if you have a girlfriend, sometimes you have to explain to somebody, enjoy your singlehood. When it lasts. So we have those conversations with our children. Be free with the child. There's nothing like, now a boy child. What if the father is not open? So you can't say a boy child has to be taught by the father. If there's an opportunity for you as a mother to talk to your child, to your boy child, tell them, talk to them. Because they're seeing it, they probably have heard it somewhere. So you explain to them. So there's no taboo topic if you want to protect your child. So you also need to provide for the children. You realize that some children are lured because of money. So if you can provide for your child, it's a way of protecting your child. Provide when you can. And make them also realize that children need to be told that money is a tool. Money is just a tool. And it's not our, money can be a servant. The way you treat 10 hands is the way you treat 100,000. If you can't have discipline in 100,000, you can't have a million. So children have to be taught that money is just a tool. It's just a fork, and it should be used for transaction. So someone cannot give you 100,000 and say, I'm taking you to Dubai buy for you to be a sex slave. They must be empowered and taught that money, you can get money and you can lose it. And empower them, teach them financial management. If you can't teach your children financial management, these days there are so many resources. They can even go on YouTube. Let them learn financial management at a tender age. So that when they see 100,000 cash, they don't shake, yes. They don't shake because they're thinking, oh, what? If they see someone in a Range Rover, it's just a mode of transport. They must know that you mustn't be moved. And one can have a Range Rover today and it can be involved in an accident the next day you don't have. So children must be taught that material things are temporary. And even if they are there, they mustn't change you. They mustn't change who you are. You must have values that that you stand with. If a man stands there and says, I will buy you a car, you have capacity to buy your own car. It's a matter of time. So you don't have to be pushed to buy a car by a married man or someone is coming from Dubai and you go there and you become a sex slave because you want a Range Rover, which is just a mode of transport. So they've also reported that when children are taken to school, it has reduced child marriages. So by every means, make an effort to take your child to school. If you don't have money, work so that your child goes to school. You cannot have a child at home because they're saying you don't have money to take your child to school. We are now more empowered. You can't have your child get married at 16 because they're saying we need money in the house. Let the children go to school, it helps them. Then communicate openly. I've spoken about that there's no topic that is a taboo. If you're a responsible parent, there's no topic that's what? A taboo. There's no topic that we don't talk about. Whether you're a boy or a girl child, we sit. I've told myself that even when I go there, mentor people, speak to people, there's nothing that I will tell another child or another person that I will not talk to my child. Whether it's financial management, I can sit down with my child and teach them. I would rather spend time teaching them life than for them to learn. Now there's so many resources. So communicate openly. Most abuses are not dealt with because the perpetrator tells them not to share. But sometimes what makes it difficult for the victim to share is because you want to not only protect the perpetrator who has threatened you, it also comes with shame. So as parents, we need to be open-minded, to empathize with the child. Because sometimes they will have been involved, but it's not necessarily that they are mischievous, they are loose. Sometimes they really find themselves in those situations which they would have avoided. So when they come and they've been abused already, you can protect them by not getting abused further. Because normally they say if someone is raped, the probability of them getting raped again is high. So as a parent, you have to protect them, that once abused, they will not be abused again. You have to be very diligent. Because also if you don't help your child, they are going through these traumatic challenges. Even as a parent, you may also need psychologists. If you need to go to a psychologist to help you when a child is going through a traumatic, do what you can. You're protecting yourself and you're protecting the child. Because sometimes the issues can be horrific. It can really take you down. So if you need to go for counseling, if you need to go for whatever you need to go to get help, be open. You can't say now I'm exposing my child. Rather, both of you get help than keep a secret that will affect. Many marriages are breaking down because people are going in with baggage, traumatic childhood issues that were not dealt with because you couldn't tell anybody. Then you want someone's child to carry that trauma. So let's help our children to deal with those traumatic issues and do whatever we need to do. So let your children know they can share about anything. understand them. If you're a parent, you're in a school, you're learning. There's no way you can say you know your child completely. We learn every day. We get to know them every day. They're different. Sometimes maybe you even want your child to take a certain route. You want them to be a medical doctor, maybe because you failed and you couldn't be a medical doctor, you want to put in a child. But maybe that child is meant to be a finance person. So learn, understand your child. If you need to study, to read books about parenting, understand your child. Get them to share their own side of the story. How they see life. Because we also learn from them. But sometimes we're coming from a counseling from our experiences. But we need to understand their experiences for them, for us to help them. Let them know they're loved. The other time, my son was in college. He went, it was Thanksgiving, this period is Thanksgiving. So he went to Thanksgiving with the family. So and he called me and he said, "Mommy, I went for Thanksgiving at this my friend's house at university, and we were at dinner table. The number of times they told each other they loved each other. I was like, huh? I mean, the sister tells the dad, I love you, mommy, I love you," and I was like, okay. So from that day, when he calls me, he doesn't enter the call without saying, "I love you, mommy," and I had to learn to also say, "I love you too, my boy." Because sometimes we assume that they know they are loved. And because we are providing, because of whatever we are doing, they are loved. The other time I went with my kids who were around, and I got this chocolate. There's PS that says, "I love you." I normally get them winning, best friends, or whatever. I'm sorry. But I should buy one that says, "I love you." And my son looks at it, mommy. So they need to know. They need to be told. Let's find ways to tell our children that we love them. Because if they're full of the love from home, it's the likelihood that someone else out there will come and tell them in a better way that they are loved is low. Because they've experienced love, they know love, they've seen love. If another person comes there and say, "I love you," and they're luring them maybe to give them materialistic things, they know they feel love. So let the children know they feel love from the home. And it's also easy to discipline a child who is loved, because they can distinguish what love and hate is, or punishment, or abuse is even. Because these days it's very difficult to discipline children, because we've also put it that they can't discipline a child because of abuse. But a child who's loved knows the heart of the parent, and you know where the parent is coming from. So you can whichever way you can show your child that you love them. You can like them or not. You can verbally, it's even more powerful. When you tell your child that "I love you," let them hear it as many times as possible that they're loved. And when they know they're loved, if someone abuses them, then it's easier for them to come and communicate with the parents, because they know they are loved. So empower them, teach them to be responsible and to pursue their dreams. I mentioned earlier, allow them to be them. You support, whichever way you can. Support your children and empower them to be who God has created them to be. There's some industries where you can't go up without maybe being lured into sex. But if a child knows, and they've told them to say no, they know you don't go through a promotion because of sex. You don't get in an A team at school because they've had their sex with the coach. You know to say no, and you know you go up because you qualify to go up. So let children be empowered. There's also what they call financial sextortion. I've been talking about just let's encourage our children to stay away from sex. These days I hear there's this healthy show. When they have sex, they take a video. And financial sextortion is when you have a sex maybe with someone's husband or whatever, then they start threatening you that if you misbehave, I'll make it go viral. So what they do, they give you money. So that's financial sextortion, where your child is given money so that they don't share. And they also threaten that if you share, it will go viral. So if we can, let's encourage our children, just stay off sex. I was telling my son the other day that, you know, when you get married, you don't have sex every day. I don't know if anyone here will have sex every day when you're married. You don't. So what's the pressure? There's no pressure. Even the married, they don't have sex every day. So you can stay, you can be pure and wait for your marriage. So let's encourage our children. Because when you allow a man to take a video when you're having sex with them, already it's a sign of abuse. Because what are they going to use? And even you boys and girls, why would you take a picture of your private parts and send it to somebody? And I hear now even married women do, they send nudes to people they're cheating with. How low can we go? Because if we behave like that, it will be very difficult even to deal with the gender-based violence. Let's have values. Let's respect ourselves. Because when you respect yourself, you will not take a note and send to a man. I'm not sure whether anyone can do that. If you really have values and respect yourself. Because there's risk, and you don't know how that video will be used anyway. It can just be posted. And now they even threaten even the parents. Like I had a parent on social media whose child had some sex somewhere, and the boyfriend had been asking the child to pay. Now the child had come to a point where they couldn't pay the person anymore. So they had to go to the parent and tell them that now I can't pay this guy. He's threatening that he will put the video on social media. If this girl had just stayed, closed his legs, should have avoided. Let's encourage our children to wait. The time will come. If you have sex with your husband and they love you, they will not take a video. There's no risk of it being put out there. So some of these things, because people have lost values, but it's us as parents who can instill those values in our children and encourage them to value them. And then lastly, I believe this is a Christian organization. Praying for your children is one of the ways I've seen in protecting a child. I was listening to a YouTube channel, and this woman was sharing her story. She was being interviewed, and she said their child walks to school. So on the path that they used to go to school, a girl was raped. So they were asking, so her daughter offered to be a witness in the case. So they asked the guys, the perpetrators, why they didn't rape that woman's child, but they raped this one. Then they said when the child passed, she was accompanied by this huge tall man. And the child was asked, who were the men you were with? And she said, I was just by myself. So the mom was testifying that she believed the big people, the perpetrators were angels. Because every time she prays for her children, and she prays Psalms 91. So I'm just going to conclude with reading Psalms 91. If you want to pray for your child, maybe you don't know what to pray for your child. Psalms 91 is a template that you can use to pray for your child. So I'll just read Psalms 91. So you can put your child's name. Yes. So you can say, my son or daughter, who dwells in the shelter of the Most High, who rests in the shadow of the Almighty. You will say of the Lord, He is your refuge and your fortress, your God in whom you will trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midnight. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes the punishment of the wicked. If you say the Lord is your refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent, but he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, so that you will not strike your foot against the stone. You will tread the lion and the serpent. Because my daughter or son loves the Lord, he will rescue him. He will protect him, for he acknowledges the name of the Lord. He will be with him in trouble, and will deliver him and honor him. And with long life the Lord will satisfy him and show him his salvation. I challenge you to pray for your children. Let your prayer go where you cannot go. Thank you very much.
Aren't you not happy with everything that Mom said today? It was a mouthful. I thought that she's just going to speak about her books. Now she's telling, she even prayed for us. She even prayed for the kids. Give her another round. She spoke about the books, and she said that if you need any of the books, you have to speak with her after the meeting, right? And she'll discuss about the pricing and every other details. And we do have a little bit of highlights on what she spoke, but it's a mouthful. So I'm just going to give this wonderful chance for questions. If you have any questions, then you can address them now. And please, when you ask your question, please introduce yourself. How many of you know me? You didn't even ask, why didn't you introduce yourself? My name is Esperance Sivatu, and I am a community leader, a civic leader, under a different type of organization. So also you, once you stand up and you talk, please introduce yourself and ask a question. It doesn't have to be directly to her, it can be something that we can discuss inside here. So over to you. Any questions? Yes?
My name is Beautiful. Exactly, it's not a question, just my story, myself, my son. It was like last month. He was also bullied for the children. He was coming from school, they was friends, they was playing soccer together. So when he was coming from school, they was asking them money. But those money, they give me 1 hand, give me 5 hands. My son said, I don't have money, which I'm coming from school. How can I get the money? They start to fight, start to beat him. His son, start to beat him. If you didn't give us money, we're gonna beat you. So it's the way Mama said it's important, because he said you have to have a communication for the kid, our kid, because my son, that story was starting for a long time. He never tell me. So in the same day, before they start exams, they start to tell me, Mama, I have to go back. I want to go back. I want to go in Congo. I said, why? Because the story was already for him. It was an education for him. Yeah. He said he wants to go back to Congo. I said, why? He wants to go to Congo. And I said, why? Oh, here I'm not fine, because there is some boys. They was bullied. When I come from school, they was bullied. Now it's too many times. And for a long time, why you never told me? I was scared. So that's why now I take that the way he said to communication for our kids, because sometimes if we are not talking to our kids, can even scared if you have some story time we tell you. So that's why I wanted to say that my story, like my son was bullied for those kids. I went to the police. Those kids I was thinking maybe they are school, the same school, they was not the same school. There's some boys they was playing soccer. I went to the police to their school, they start what happened, they was playing soccer together. After playing soccer, those boys they was asking money for taking those are other boys. They must take a smoking, they was every time Mama they always asking money that I can't tell you. I was even very angry. I said, why did you tell me? Now if the way they beat you, there were too many, they start to beat you around the corner. You see, you can hurt, you can have another story. So I went to the police because that child, those kids, they